All right. Automations are great, but especially when you start to implement AI into those automations, there's going to be a lot of times when you just want the automation to help you get 90% of the way there. And you want some aspect of human in the loop or manual review at the end. And that is why this video is going to be talking about human in the loop. So, what I'm assuming at this point is that you have mapped out a process that you've identified and you understand the decision points. And at this point, before you have even started automating, is when you've probably realized, okay, near the end of this flow, before this actually gets sent out to a potential lead, let's have a human review. Or maybe it's like, our low quality score leads, that's fine. Medium is fine. But for these high quality leads, we need manual review pretty much the whole way through or something like that. And so with natively integrated human in the loop in n8n, there's a few things we can do. So let's just get a manual trigger. And if we click on the next, you can see down here, there's a human in the loop. And this basically says it's going to wait for approval or human input before continuing. So what this is going to do is it's going to basically pause the workflow and wait at this node until you, the human, take action on whatever app you're doing this human in the loop integration with. So you can see right now, there's native support for Discord, Gmail, chat, Outlook, Teams, all this kind of stuff. Now, before we dive into this, and this is something I'll probably talk about more in the next video, just kind of about like some general mindset stuff about no-code automations and n8n. This is not the only way to implement human in the loop in a workflow. This is probably the best and easiest native way to have a workflow pause and wait for a triggered response. But it's not the only way. So this video, we're going to talk about this. You've probably seen some of my videos on YouTube where I've done stuff with these nodes, and I'm going to link those below. So there'll be a couple of videos linked below this video that are YouTube videos where I've talked about some human in the loop use cases or whatever it is. But just wanted to make it clear that this is not the only way to do it. This is just like n8n's native integration, and we'll kind of explain why that is. But you have these integrations and they all work the same way, but we're just going to do Gmail for now, okay? So let's say what we do is I'm going to grab an AI agent. Oh, okay, there we go. I'm going to grab an AI agent, and actually we're going to chat with this thing. So let me just change this to a chat trigger. Okay. I'm going to grab a chat model real quick. We're good with 4.1 mini. Okay, so now we're set up. And real quick, I'm just going to say, help me write an email. It should be very funny and use a lot of emojis. Okay. So just a quick system prompt there. Now what we're going to do is, let's say we're chatting with the agent, and then what we want to do is have the agent's output, the proposed email, be sent to us, the human, for review. So real quick, let's just actually ask it to make an email. Send an email to Nate and tell him he's fired. Okay. So we're going to get this output of the email. And then we would basically just map like, how does this get presented to the human for review? So actually, let me just pin this data real quick so we can play with it. Let me make myself smaller. And now we're in business. All right. So this is the human in the loop. We're going to send it to, and obviously you can make this dynamic, right? The subject, we didn't have this. What you would do is output parse it. So, well, actually, no, you wouldn't, because we want to probably have it show the subject. So the subject here, we're just going to say, yeah, so you see the subject placeholder says approval required. So let's just say, please approve this email. And then we would basically just drag it in. But you could also put whatever type of text you want in there. And now we've got a few options. So this first one is approval, okay? So if I hit test step, it's gonna, I always do that. I'm just gonna delete this credential since that's happened in multiple demos in this course. Anyways, so look, what it's doing now is it's waiting. So you can't see because I had the error first, but it's purple and it's waiting. So if I go to executions, we should see that it's purple, it's waiting, and it's spinning, rather than being like completed or done. So you can see here how it's waiting here. This node is waiting for user input. So as soon as we respond, that's when this node will finish. So if I go to my email, we can see we got, please approve this email. We need to chat Nate. Hey Nate, bit awkward. There's a lot of emojis here. Anyways, so you can see we have the option to approve, and that's it. So if we didn't like it, we would probably just have to ignore it because then the node would eventually time out. But if I hit approve and come back into the workflow, did I hit approve? Okay, I hit approve, got it, thanks. And now I go into the workflow and it's finished. And what happens here is that it basically says approved equals true. And that's like the only thing we can get back. So what I could do is we can change this response type. So we can do approval. We can do you want to do approve only? Do you want to have an approve or disapprove as well? So let's see what that looks like. Now it's waiting for us again. I'll go to my email. We will see that we have now the option to approve or decline. So let's say I decline this one. Got it, thanks. We go back into the workflow and now it says data approved equals false, as you can see. So if you set up something like this, what you could do is then you could have like a switch route and say, okay, if true, go this way and send it. If false, go down here and either redo it or whatever you want to do for the true and false logic. So that's cool. But what you've seen in some of my YouTube videos that I'll tag below are the actual ability to not just approve and disapprove, but give feedback, which I think is really cool. So if I have this free text field, test this off, it basically will say, please approve this email, and we can open up this thing and say respond, and we can tell it what to do to change this email. So if I said please make this shorter and use less emojis, we're going to submit that. This node finishes, and what we have is the actual feedback from the human. And so if you watch my sales team human in the loop video down below or whatever it is, what we can do is we can use this feedback and then basically feed it into another agent to take the original email, take the feedback, make a new one, and then send it back to the human for approval. And this is an infinite loop until the human finally says, yep, that looks good, send it off. So that's why this is really powerful. But real quick, before we hop into the next one, the reason why this, like I was alluding to earlier, is this happens in N8N, but it's not the only way to do it, but it's the easiest native, is because what happens is this sends us a form, right? Or it sends us an email. And in this email, we can't respond natively in here. So when we click on respond, it opens up this page. And so my understanding, and in the simplest terms of what's going on, is this is basically now a webhook. Because this is just a webhook that's waiting for us to send over data from here. And this is where we send that data. So that's why the workflow is able to pause and wait for our response. And so, I just say hi, submit, and then it finishes up, because as soon as we fire off data to this webhook address, that's how we're getting the data. Obviously, we've got other stuff like we can change the label, we can change the text of it, we can change the title of the form, we can customize it a little bit, we can set the wait time. But what we can't yet do is have it have us be able to natively respond in email. Because of the way that N8N had to basically set up these nodes to pause and wait, they kind of had to set it up like a webhook. So that's not the only way you can do human in the loop, though. Of course, there's other things you can do where you could basically send off the email. You could just do an actual wait node right here. And then you could basically go back and check if there's any replies. And if there's not, you could, it'd be almost your polling for an HTTP request output. And you would just basically poll until it's done. So there are other options, and I'll talk about that more in the next video. But that is human in the loop as it stands right now. So I hope that was helpful.